You all right, David?
Yeah, great. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. Yeah, you
Good,
had a good
good.
week?
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Not bad. Okay. So, yeah, obviously we're talking in Scouse this week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you like talking in
great
Scouse,
stuff.
David?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I love
so
it.
do I. Yeah, could do it all day.
It's a good laugh, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good laugh. You have to
Yeah,
smile, don't you?
yeah,
I
you
mean, I
do.
just
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
Yeah,
You smile. Yeah,
it's
that's
good.
right.
I'm enjoying
That's
this.
right.
Right, so we're
Right.
gonna have a nice time then. So,
I think we
let's.
are.
Have you been to Liverpool recently, David?
Oh, yeah, fairly recently. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. About a couple of years ago. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Went with my wife and showed her where, because I used to live in Wallasey, for a while.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I
Okay.
showed my wife the old house where I lived. It's great. And some of my
And you.
old haunts.
That was a long time ago, though, wasn't it,
Yeah, it
David?
was a long time
Yeah.
ago. Yeah, yeah,
Did you ever? So you were living there
yeah,
when you were a kid, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah.
When you were a kid,
With
but you
about
never.
eight, about eight. Moved there when I was about eight,
Yeah,
and left when I was about 18. So about 10 years. Yeah.
right. Did you ever become a Scouse speaker?
No, I didn't.
You didn't.
I
Why not?
stayed a southerner. I don't know. I just kind of. I found it embarrassing because I used to, at school, I used to try and do a sort of Scouse accent to sort of, to get accepted by people because, the
Right.
Southerners were very rare then.
Yeah.
So as soon as I went to school, I got, yeah, listen to him, all that.
Yeah.
So I tried to sort of, to be accepted with this sort of accent and then used to go home with my mother and mum and dad, and wonder what was going on.
So you were
So
kind of
I had
stuck
two
between
voices,
two very
sometimes
difficult.
two voices, yeah. Yeah.
Right. Oh
It
well.
was a bit
There you
embarrassing
go.
when my friends came round, and I didn't know which voice to use.
But I suppose the psychoanalyst in me wants to see something in your future career, there, David.
Yeah, that's right.
You
Yeah,
already live in a
what could
double
it
world.
be?
So
Yeah.
were they nice to you then, the Liverpudlians? Were they nice to you about your accent, your southern accent?
Um, Not really. No.
No. Okay. You had the mick taken out of you.
I
All
thought I was
right.
a bit of an alien. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I went to Liverpool a few years ago as well.
Uh,
I found.
uh,
Yeah. It's a great
you like
city,
it?
isn't it? Very
It's
vibrant
great. It's
city.
great. Yeah, it's
Loads
great.
going on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Very friendly as well, isn't it?
Very friendly. Very friendly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay. But let's get
Right.
cracking on
Let's get
the
cracking. Let's get going. Yeah,
Let's get cracking on
yeah,
the sounds then. So we're going to start with the
yeah,
vowel sounds.
yeah,
I mean, I suppose it goes without saying that Scouse is one of the most distinctive accents in English,
yeah,
and so we've got quite a lot to cover here. A lot of these sounds are quite different in Scouse,
yeah, yeah.
and unusually as well for an English accent. It's got quite a lot of consonant variations.
Yeah,
So,
it has. Yeah, yeah.
but let's start with the vowels, David. What would you say is the most striking vowels?
I think one of the ones I like a lot is the vowel, which in British
Okay.
GGB.
Right, so
Air,
we're talking number 8 here. So
number
that
eight.
is
Yeah,
which would
yeah,
be sir
yeah,
in GB. So
yeah.
sir would be what in Scouse, David? How would that be?
Say.
Say.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
noticing
right.
that you're going very much to the front of the mouth there,
Yeah,
David.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
Say.
definitely, yeah. And if you think of that as the hesitation sound as well, you know. So yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost like the default position for this for the tongue is
yeah.
there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
So
you can also classify that as a rounded sound somewhat, can't you? I mean, some people are doing there's a certain amount
uh,
of round in there.
uh. Yeah, but I don't know. It's not something I've thought of.
You wouldn't do
It
that.
might be. I
All
mean,
right.
the interesting thing about that is that the one of the influences on Scouse is Welsh,
Yeah,
and actually the Welsh people would go like that. They would round their lips.
they would round
You
their
know,
lips.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Which I don't know. So it
So
may be that a little bit of that has crept into some of the Scousers you've
I
heard.
well
It's
I
not
have seen it
something.
classified as that as well. I've
Uh,
seen some phonetic analysis of it,
uh,
putting it
uh,
as a rounded
uh,
front vowel.
mm,
Um, but I think like with rounding, it can be very slight, can't it?
yeah,
It
it can be.
can
It
be
can be.
marginal or
Yeah, it's
something
not
like that.
something
So
I particularly
all right.
noticed. Yeah,
Anyway, to the front is definitely a feature of
yeah.
Scouse. You cannot say Scouse and go Sir. It just
No,
doesn't work.
no,
You got to
exactly. Got to
got
go
to say it to the
say,
front.
say. Yeah, that's
Say.
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. Okay. Right, what am I doing then? I think I'll start with the short vowel I.
Mm.
This number 2, which is
Yeah.
the I in tip in
Yeah.
GB. I think you got to open your mouth a bit for that, haven't you, in Scouse? Tip,
Tep. Yeah.
tip.
Yeah. You have.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
heading
Tep.
towards
Yeah. Head.
it's heading towards basically an which is
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Tep.
close
Yeah.
mid, isn't it?
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And you have
Yeah.
this kind of strong, is is
Yeah. Is it?
at
Is
the
it?
end,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
That's
think
right.
that's a really
Yeah.
key feature.
Definitely. Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah.
What else you got, David?
Well, I've got this this bit of a split here, with the sort of last and start, that kind of thing, which can be split. So we've got the last sound, which of course in GB English would be last. So we've got going towards the front. Last draft far starving. But sometimes with some Scousers, some of the AR sounds, the spelling's AR, they can go R. So you can say a started it or a started it.
Right.
It's a different kind of thing you'll hear with different voices,
Okay.
So that's kind of an interesting one.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to have to unpack this, though, David, for any listeners, because there's quite a lot going on there. Right. We're talking about number 5 and number 10, right? So number 5 is the A in pan.
Yeah.
Now, in Scouse, that's going to be pretty much A in pan, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got the trap bath split.
Yeah.
Which is that, in the south, you're going to have Bath.
Yeah.
And in Liverpool, you're going to have Bath.
Bath. Yeah.
Right. Then you got the back vowel. Now, this is where it gets weird. So this is when you got number 10, which is the R in card.
Yeah.
And you're saying that some Scousers are going to say cards and others are going to say card.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
So basically, you're talking about number 10 could go either to the back, like in Southern, or it could go to the front, like I suppose in Manchester or something like that, isn't it? They have a kind of front one for that card.
Yeah, that's right. But it's just depends who you're talking to,
Right.
With this one.
So that's a bit of variation there.
Yeah, I think so.
Which would you go for? I think when I'm doing Scouse, I tend to go front with that card.
Yeah, started card. Yeah,
started.
I think I would, but I think
Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr would go back, wouldn't he? Go chord.
We'd probably talk about this later, but I think there's two. Sometimes you get these different sort of pitches of voice in Scouse, high and low. Extremely high and extremely low. I sometimes think it goes with the low voice. I started it. And I think it might be slightly posher to say I started it.
Yeah.
I think there's a sort of that as well. I think that's something to do with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, but you got to focus on that sound. If we're doing Scouse, we've got to go one way or the other. It depends on what kind of Scouse you're doing.
I think if we're going to go one way or the other, I would go towards the front end. The started.
Yeah, if you're going full on Scouse,
just to keep it consistent. Yeah, because it's kind of it. It works both ways.
Yeah.
But I think that's the best way to go.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
I think just before last monothon I want to mention is kind of associated with what you were doing with air, say. It's just the schwa, isn't it? Because that's going to be quite open in front as well a lot of the time. Water.
Water. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so ends of words like that. Yeah.
I think you can kind of probably lump them together. So the reference sound there would be the in GB, and then in Scouse you got there. So I think that's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think in a way with these monophthongs, what we've seen is that they can really they're moving to the front, aren't they? Generally, like compared to GB, you got it's to the front.
Yeah.
And I guess before we move on to diphthongs, we should just mention as well numbers 1 and 6, which are quite diphthongal in Scouse, especially at the end, aren't they? Stuff like ew, you.
Yeah.
Number 6, which would be oo in GB, is kind of ew in Scouse.
That's right. Yeah. You.
Even in something like skill.
Yeah. Skill.
Ew,
yeah.
You've got that very clear movement, haven't you? Skill.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Number 1 as well. Hey, she. you got that movement, which is very, very pronounced in Scouse, I think.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so that's monophthong. You got any more
Good.
monophthongs, David?
Any what?
Any more monophthongs to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I think that's it.
No. Right, okay. So on to the diphthongs then. So diphthongs are double vowels. We're moving from one place to another.
Yeah.
Got anything there?
Yeah, I've got I, which is number. Let's just check it out.
18. Yeah.
18.
Hide.
Yeah,
I hide. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
In
right.
GB, hide. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
In Scouse, what's that going to be then?
Well, again, that varies a bit. So we get it. I. Again, it's kind of quite front, Yeah. So like tight, like nice.
Tight. Yeah.
That sort of
that's
thing.
What I have it, yeah.
Very smiley, very smiley.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about this is if it's followed by, tight, like, night, they're followed by, the I sounds followed by voiceless consonants like t or a k. Yeah. But if it's followed by a voiceless consonant, it can be lengthened. So you have a word like violent, can become violent, and also it seems to stretch the sound out a bit, so it becomes more like violent. Instead of, you see, it changes it a little bit.
If it's followed by a voice sound, you mean, yeah?
Yeah, voice sound, voice sound,
Yeah. So,
or spies, or lies. Kind, yeah. So that's an interesting one.
You've got two things going on, yeah.
Yeah, it lengthens, but it also changes a bit. Just becomes like a sort of like a long sound.
Yeah. So you've actually got the diphthong in the shorter places, which is quite an interesting kind of thing to have going on.
Yeah,
good. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to go 17. So again, we're seeing again, aren't we, the change in position for what would be central vowels in GB. So in GB, 17 is O, go. In Scouse, again, we're moving to the front, aren't we? Well, it's got a lot of variation, but I think the most likely one is ew,
goat, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, this has got variation, but I think I would go for that one.
You go for goat.
Go stolen, grown, and float.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you said that. You can have goat. You can have goat, stolen, grown, float.
Yeah.
I always used to sometimes think there was a little bit of a gender thing here. But sometimes women would tend to say it more like goat, and some men would say goat more.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure if it's that,
Not sure. I've got a feeling it's more like how, because a lot of it's kind of, Manchester, Lancashire, and that's definitely going back is a Manchester thing. Go,
yeah.
So, and I wonder if this kind of more that like the more kind of Scouse influence you go in front, and then the more kind of mixed in.
I don't know. I mean,
back.
I had a great recording of a load of ex-dockers dockers talking about this, and they were just discussing their lives, and I've lost it. It was a shame because it's great, and it was really interesting to hear this because you'd hear those variations, and again, I think it's a pitch thing sometimes. I think if you've got a higher pitch, you're more likely to go goat, but if you've got a lower pitch, you're more likely to go goat. Sort of fits, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of goat, but I think always quite. I've heard that a lot. I think goat. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, definitely. I think it is a. I think it is a thing. Yeah, you can either go back or front.
Yeah. I think you can get away. I think you can get away with varying that a bit. If you're doing the accent, both. I don't think you have to stick to one or the other. I think you can do both. Yeah.
So, variation there. Anything else to do on the diphthongs there, David?
I think, let's have a look. I don't think I've got anything else, actually. Anything? Have you got anything?
They're the main ones, I think, for me. I think the other ones tend to be quite actually similar to GB.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Yeah, tend to be quite similar. Right, I suppose the only other thing, but it ties in with the schwa is, the 14 ear. Again, you've got that front ear, dear.
Yeah, that's it.
Dear instead of dear, but you could class that as the same as like using a schwa, an open schwa, so that's fine. Great. Okay, so that's vowel sounds done.
Yeah.
Some pretty, really, I think you can sum that up as basically, head to the front.
Yeah.
For anything central.
Head to the front.
Head to the front. Right.
Smile.
Okay, so in this second part, David, we are talking about people, famous people.
Oh, famous people,
So,
yeah.
who have you got for Scouse? So if you're trying to kind of look for Scousers to copy, if you're trying to learn the accents, who would you go for?
Well, I've got several names here. There's, I think, one person who a lot of people have heard of and have heard is John Bishop. He's the
John Bishop.
comedian,
Yeah,
stand-up comedian who's, he's one of these kind of guys that fills stadiums and
yeah,
So John Bishop, I think I would go for. He would be my first one. Very strong accent. Really, really a good example, I think.
yeah. And I think it's always good to use comedians because
Yeah, yeah,
there's a lot of stuff where they're talking in monologues, isn't there?
yeah,
And that's really
yeah.
useful for
You get a
doing.
lot of material. Yeah,
Yeah, you get a lot of material with that.
that's right.
There are some other comedians from Liverpool as well, aren't there?
Oh yeah,
Quite a few.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
quite a comedy place.
Yeah, if you're going
For
back,
stand-ups.
a bit further, you got people like Jimmy Tarbuck.
Yeah.
Who some of the people watching this wouldn't have even heard of. But yeah, there's a really strong tradition.
Yeah.
Alexi Sale was another one.
Alexi Sale's another Scouser, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
Am I getting? Is Michael McIntyre also Scouse?
I
Don't think he talks very much in Scouse.
No, I don't think so. No,
I had a feeling he was a Scouser.
no, he's not a Scouser. I don't think. No, I don't think so.
Why do I think he's a Scouser? I know he doesn't talk Scouse, but anyway.
Oh, I don't know.
He's not going to be.
He's not a very good example because he doesn't talk Scouse.
I know. I was just thinking about stand-up comedians. Anyway, right. I'm going down a different profession though.
Yeah,
for mine. I'm going because there's actually in football punditry, and I know you're not going to know this very much, David, because
Yeah.
I know you're not much into football.
But
in football punditry, you got three of the main pundits that you'll see on telly. Jamie Carragher, Steve McManaman, and Michael Owen. And I think we were talking about kind of grades of Scouse earlier a bit.
Yeah.
And I think in those three people, you can really hear it. So in Jamie Carragher, you got the real kind of nasal, you got all the really Scouse stuff going on. Really, it sounds really Scouse. So he's a perfect person to listen to if you really want to hear that Scouse sound.
Okay.
Then Steve McManaman, he's a bit more kind of, subdued. He's definitely got a very, a strong Scouse accent, but the way he delivers it is more subdued.
Milder,
Milder, not so much nasal going on, and he's got a bit more kind of variation in tone as well. And then Michael Owen, going over to Chester, I think, and got a bit of just pretty mild, really.
Yeah, he's the only one I've heard of, by the way.
Right. Oh, really? Right. Well, there you go. And he's there's Scouse in there, but it's not, it's not in your face Scouse. It's kind of
right.
a touch of it.
Yeah.
But I think they're really good examples of, of the kind of grading of Scouse in a way, of how a strong Scouse accent can sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else at all?
Yeah, I've got actors. Stephen Graham.
Oh, yeah, Stephen Graham. Yeah.
Stephen Graham's a very well-known actor, does a lot of work. Yeah, Stephen Graham, I think he's another good example of a Scouser. He tends to do most of his work in a Scouse accent, although I've seen him play Al Capone in a drama. So he does quite a good accent for that. But a lot of Scouse. Stephen Graham.
He can do other accents.
He can some other accents. Yeah.
He's done a lot of good stuff. I'm just thinking about women. I mean, the famous example would be Jodie Comer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Jodie Comer, yeah.
Who came to fame doing an amazing RP accent, actually, and some other accents in Killing Eve. And then everybody was completely gobsmacked when she took the BAFTA. I think it was the BAFTA she won, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And she came out. She was thanks very much. I was she's a Scouser.
Yeah,
couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But with her, I have heard some other interviews with her, and I think she has got a little bit of an actor's voice going on. I think it's kind of mixed a bit with American and other stuff going on. It's not full on Scouse all the time, actually.
But she is very good at accents. She really is.
Brilliant voice.
She's fantastic. Fantastic
voice worker.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so there you go. There's some people. I've just checked Michael McIntyre. He was born in London, so there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
What am I?
So I don't know where that came from.
What am I going on about?
I don't know.
Right. Okay, so that's people. Next then is consonants.
Consonants, yeah. Right.
Right, okay, we've got some important ones going on here.
We have.
What are you going to start with, David? It's hard
I
to know
think
where to start. Yeah, go on.
T, I think.
Go for it. Yeah.
Very soft. Like a word like daughter. Daughter. She's my daughter. It's almost like an S, a sound.
Yeah, daughter.
Short. And even with the D, you can say me dad's. Me dad's sort of gets a bit like a z, like,
So what we're talking about here really is affrication, isn't it? They're turning into S's. And actually, I think you can probably consider that the T is fully turning into an S in some cases. Litter.
Yeah, litter. Yeah, litter.
I mean, that's just an S. If it was spelt with an S, it would sound exactly the same.
It would, yeah. Yeah, very soft.
Now, also, the thing about the T at the end, we did one earlier, which was izzy.
Yeah.
That T is not turning into an S. It's actually, well, you think it's missing, right? I've looked this up. It's got a name, not a very well-known name. It's called debuccalization.
Right, okay. In other words, you just don't say it. I love that devocalization. I'm going to devocalize it.
Not devocalize.
Oh, not devocalize.
Listen carefully, David. Debuccalization. I'm saying it in Liverpoolian. Debuccalization.
Debuccalization. Okay.
Right. Do you know what that is?
No.
Right. It's when something. I think it's when something turns into a glottal sound.
I wouldn't call this a glottal.
I know you don't think it's a glottal sound, but I'm sure it's an H there.
Come off here. Come off here.
You're not convinced, are you?
Convinced. I just think it's missing. And I think it's if you do it like a glottal, you're sunk because it doesn't sound right. You can't say come off it. Come off it. Come off it. Like that. It's got to be come off it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about doing a glottal stop here, David. I'm not talking about going come off it.
No, but I mean,
I'm
it's
not talking about that. I'm talking about doing come off it. Fricative at the end.
Come off it.
Yeah,
no,
come off it.
I don't know. I don't buy it. I think it just isn't there. Like I ate it. I ate it. I ate it.
You see, I think that's
do
wrong.
What?
Anyway.
Do what?
Right. And I think it's the same in Dublin. Debuccalization.
Anyway. It might be in Dublin, but we're not talking Dublin.
Anyway,
I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the T. Now I'm going to go for the one right next to it. The T is number 32.
Yeah.
I'm going for number 34, which is K. Now I think this is like the most striking feature of Scouse. Actually, striking.
One of them ones. Yeah. Neck clock. Look at the clock. Neck. Yeah, sack.
So basically, this is any time you got the Vela plosive K at the end, it's going to turn into a fricative.
Yeah.
Fricative.
Yeah, or even in the middle, like doche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although you could consider that at the end of the syllable with doc. I mean, end of a syllable really rather than word. Yeah, okay.
Doche, yeah. So that's right. Yeah, neck clock. Now, I think that might come from the Welsh thing, because, because as I said, there's a little bit of a Welsh influence in Scouse, and I think, the Scouse, that is a Welsh sound, a ch sound, from when I think ch in Welsh, harlech,
Yeah, it's come from
so I think it may come from there.
Because it's not, let's face it, it's not found anywhere else, is it? I mean, that is a very much a Scouse thing in terms of English accents in England.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
you don't hear it anywhere else. No. I mean, so some parts in Wales, you're saying, yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so that's what else?
Right, I think ing. When a word ends in ing, I think sometimes it's interesting. You get a word like something in GB English will be some. So you get a kind of a some just turns into kind of nasal. No, something or notting or walking or trying. Just to kind of.
Now that's it's a very interesting one, this actually, David. Yeah, I hadn't really thought
Yeah.
about that. But how do you
Yeah.
categorize this? Because I guess what's really happening here is you're getting a syllabic N, aren't you? You're getting
Yeah,
so
you are
getting
getting a syllabic N,
getting
and a kind of glottal there as well. Some
something.
you
Yeah, so
know,
you got
not
the
in certain words, but then
certain
walken, I'd have this sort of sh sound in the middle, and then a
walking.
kind of a little bit of an sound after that. But then it's just you know, walken, trying,
Right,
that sort
so
of thing. Yeah,
the sequence is basically glottal stop, syllabic N,
yeah. For some words, yeah.
wantin, yeah,
Especially when you've got
writing,
th in the middle.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then for other words, it's basically just a syllabic N.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
backen
walking,
and backen N.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's right.
Great. Okay, so that is a variation on number 44 there,
Yeah.
I guess we could say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great. I've got one more, which is, I know you're going to disagree with this, but anyway, I disagree. You see, I just said it there. It's the taptar.
The taptar. Yeah, the taptar.
You know,
disagree.
So
Yeah,
39,
disagree.
Rug in GB. Yeah, I'm saying
Yeah, rug.
Which you know, you find it in Scottish, you find it in Brummie,
Yeah.
you find it, I think, in some old-fashioned, like you know, posh accents and all that stuff. So yeah, but you definitely find it in a lot of Scousers.
You do find it in a lot of Scousers. I wouldn't disagree with it at all. I think it's there, but I don't think it's there with everybody. I don't think everybody does it.
Yeah, no.
But I think it's there. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I think that's fine.
Right.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Great. Okay, and I suppose the only other thing we should mention, I don't know if you've got anything else there, is just the THs.
There's a bit of a,
yeah. I think, you know, some of them are doing stops, aren't they? Plosive stops, dentalized plosive stops. So tink, D's.
Yeah.
And you got the t.
This and that.
So they're basically plosives made on the on the teeth, which is quite an Irish thing rather than anything else.
It's an Irish thing, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You don't have that anywhere else in England, except for coming in from a different angle is the Jamaican angle in the modern London accent, isn't it? They're doing that, you know, ting.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the only other place I think that you got that going on in England at the moment.
Yeah. I have got one more actually.
Yeah, go on then.
And again, this is quite variable, but with some speakers it's quite marked. It's the turning the S sound into a bit of a sh sound, like sound. That's a sound I like.
All right.
You know, or even the z sound into a kind of a j, like reja, you know, sound. And I tell you, it's just to mention another name there. There's a TV series on Channel 4 recently called The Gathering.
Right.
And had a great young actress in it called Eva Morgan, and she does this a lot. So it's worth watching for that, I think, for the accent, especially her. She's the lead. It's quite a young woman, and she does this a lot, so it's worth listening to, I think.
So is she a Scouse? Is she actually a Scouse, the actress? Yeah, because I suppose that's quite a detail to put in otherwise, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, so basically what's happening here then, we've got numbers 25 and numbers 26. Basically, the point of articulation is going back slightly, isn't it? So it's post-alveolar instead of alveolar.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in other words, saw becomes shaw.
So yeah, but you've got to be a bit careful. You've got to be careful not to go too far with it.
Right. So it's not quite as far as shaw. It's not right.
It's like so just got to kind of think about it. Yeah. You sort of think about it and it'll work. You know, it's kind of halfway there. You've got to be very careful with it. But I think watching her speak, you know, she does it a lot.
Right. That's a good one then. Yeah. So that's a real detail.
Yeah.
If you want to get it early.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
It's quite a good series as well. The Gathering. Yeah.
The Gathering. We're going to talk about TV in a moment, so that's one to put in there. Right, great. So we've done our sounds now, and that leads nicely onto TV and film actually.
Yeah.
So you were talking about this this program is called The Gathering.
The Gathering, yeah.
Which is set in. I've seen a bit of that. Yes, it's a good series, isn't it? And it's got some really good accents from young people as well, which is great.
Yeah.
You get to see the young.
It is. Yeah.
The young accents. That's on Channel 4, isn't it? And I guess the other big series that's been around recently is Responder, isn't it? With
The
Martin
Responder with
Freeman.
Martin Freeman, who's doing a very good Scouse accent, I think.
Very good. He's been getting a lot of good feedback from
Yeah,
Liverpudlians, hasn't he, about his
he's doing
accents?
very well. Yeah, he's very good. Yeah.
Because everybody thought he spoke in Hobbit before, didn't they? And now they've realised he's actually he can do accents.
Yeah, I've never seen Hobbit. I've never seen it, so I wouldn't know.
Actually, they talk in quite sort of standard, they're talking quite GB sort of accent in that, but yeah, everyone was a bit taken aback actually by how kinds of hard he played that part. It's really gritty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very gritty. Yeah, it's very good. I think it's very well written. I think.
Yeah, good series, Responder. What else have you got for TV and film then?
I've got an older series which some people might remember called Boys from the Black Stuff.
All right.
That was set in Liverpool, and
I'll just stop you there, David. I don't know what this is, so I'm
right.
It doesn't go far enough back. It goes too far back for me. But yeah, do carry on. I'm sure that we have some listeners who can.
Has anybody heard of an actor called Bernard Hill?
I haven't.
Bernard Hill is famous. I suppose a lot of people might know him for playing the captain in Titanic.
Oh, right.
He's the captain of the Titanic.
Right.
Now, Bernard Hill was a Scouse actor that he played. This series was very celebrated at the time. It was written by somebody called Alan Bleasdale, who's a sort of Liverpool dramatist. And it was about these guys, who the black stuff is the tar that they lay on, driveways and things like that. And they were kind of these Scousers trying to get work, and the work was very scarce then, these days. We're talking about in the 70s, early 80s. Yeah. And Bernard Hill there was a character in it called Yozza Hughes. And he became very famous because he had this catchphrase he used to go around saying, "Give us a job, I can do that. Give us a job, I can do that.
How would I?
I can do that." And he became very famous for it because this guy was just desperate, to get work. And there was this other very funny scene where he went to see a priest in a confessional. And he said to him, what's your name? To the priest. And he said, it's Dan, son. He said, I'm desperate Dan. And that got very famous for that. Because the Desperate Dan, again, people who've read the Dandy, so maybe. So I'm only appealing to the older generation.
I suppose when you tell that story, David, I do kind of think that maybe comedy's moved on a bit in the last.
It wasn't a comedy.
Years,
It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all.
Oh, right,
that was just a funny line. Okay. No, it was very far from being a comedy.
Oh, I see.
Right,
it's quite
very
serious.
Yeah,
very serious. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So that's mine.
Got it.
You got it. What have you got?
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I got a couple of things actually. I would say there's this nice film called Letter to Brezhnev.
Letter to Brezhnev. That's going back a bit, isn't it? Yeah,
going back a bit as well.
I don't think I've seen it. I maybe have seen it, but not for a long time.
It's about a couple of girls who work in a chicken factory in Kirby.
Oh yeah.
And they hook up with some Russian sailors who are staying overnight in Liverpool. And it's quite offbeat, but it's really great for accents, great for hearing the accents.
Yeah.
And it's just quite an interesting kind of story, and it's quite funny. It's quite a nice film from the era. I think it's from the 80s or maybe early 90s.
Yeah.
And also from that era and going back a bit further is films by Terence Davies as well. I think they're good if you're looking at kind of the old.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, Terence Davies. Yeah.
He died recently, didn't he? Not too long ago.
He did. That's right.
But he did this nice kind of retrospective called of Time in the City, which kind of does a lot of montage footage of Liverpool. So it's quite a good one to see.
It's very good. Yeah.
Anything else at all for TV and film?
No, that's all I've got.
Great.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Right. So moving on then. So now I just want to talk about the any other features really, like intonation, stuff like that. What do you reckon about Scouse?
I think it tends to be kind of. Sometimes it's described as having a minor tune. Like a minor tune, because it sort of goes up like it's sort of in sort of curve at the end of the sentence, like that,
Yeah.
So I think that's what you got to bear in mind, when
rising tones.
Rising tone, yeah. Right. Yeah,
So you're going
great.
up a lot in
Yeah,
Scouse,
like
yeah,
going up a lot, the end of the word, end of the
yeah,
sentences, end of the utterances, as it were. Yeah.
yeah. And I think also it's kind of yeah, there's something about Scouse which kind of makes you want to talk as well, isn't there? You got to
Mm,
there's something
mm,
about the energy behind it. You got to
yeah,
get into that.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you got to attack this accent. Like
yeah, yeah,
last week we were talking about West Country,
yeah,
and it's a very different feeling when you're talking in that. It's
yeah,
very
yeah,
laid back, isn't it?
yeah,
But in Scouse, you're really you're
yeah.
smiling all
That's
the
it.
time.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah,
talk.
yeah. You got to
Um,
talk. Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's probably quite unique in a way among English
uh,
accents.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
quite an Irish thing. I
yeah.
feel about
It is.
like
Yeah, I
that.
think
You
there's a
know,
lot of Irish influence
a
there.
lot of
Yeah,
Irish
yeah,
influence there, isn't
yeah.
there?
With the storytelling. Yeah, yeah,
So that's kind of yeah. I suppose with intonation, yeah, it's
mm,
you got to be kind of attacking it and
yeah,
going up a lot. Yeah, you're
yeah.
kind of
That's right.
almost
Yeah,
asking or
yeah.
asking for a response all the
That's
time,
right.
aren't you?
Yeah,
What do you
yeah,
think
yeah,
about that? Then
yeah,
come on,
yeah,
then
yeah,
talk to me.
yeah. That's it.
Don't leave any gaps, David.
Sorry. Yeah, talk to me. What am I going
You
to talk?
can't
Yeah,
you,
okay,
you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
you can't stop talking.
No, no, I know. But yeah, if I was a proper
Right.
Scouser, I would. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Well, you're a semi-Scouser. I think you admitted to that earlier in
Yeah, I'm
the episode.
semi-Scouser.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
semi-Scouser.
pretender. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
right.
So you got to have your eyes and intonation in Scouse. Okay.
Yeah,
Similar
yeah.
accents then. Similar accents. Last section. Similar accents.
Well,
Um.
I think the nearest ones, I suppose, some sort of Manchester sort of accents. It's got kind of hints, but I think Liverpool's interesting because I think it's very much on its own. You just
Yeah.
and it's very strong as well. It hasn't really diminished like some accents have. If you watch that series, The Gathering, all these young actors in it, young people in it, their accents are as strong as
Yeah.
older people, and that's something which doesn't happen everywhere. Some accents are being sort of
Diluted a
neutralized,
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
really strong. So I suppose I'd go with Manchester and a bit of Irish as well. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of Irish in there. So they're the two, I think, sides of it I would go. Yeah.
Yeah. There's similarity with Manchester definitely
Yeah, yeah.
in some things.
Yeah. Yeah, in
Um.
some things.
In
Not
some
everything.
things, yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps as well, there's quite a lot of the kind of crack going on in Manchester as well. The swagger that the
Yeah.
Scouse has got. They're
Yeah.
about two cities that have that kind of feeling,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah, sure.
And interestingly, I think the name Scouse comes from Lobscouse, doesn't it? Which
Mm.
actually means mixture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it means stew, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that kind of that's the roots of Scouse is all those the port and everybody
Mm.
coming in from these different
Mm.
places, particularly Ireland,
Mm.
and it all mixing together. And I
Yeah.
think go back maybe just over 100 years, and you wouldn't
Mm.
really hear Scouse there. I think it's a really modern thing.
Mm.
It's kind of something that I
Yeah.
think before then it was Lancashire mainly that was spoken
It
there.
would have been, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
And then you got all these
Yeah.
things coming in, this massive kind of movement, especially from
Yeah.
America and
Yeah. Yeah.
Ireland and
Yeah. That's it.
all that going on,
Wales. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it created this massive kind of mixture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite a
Yeah.
modern accent, and
Relatively
I think it's
modern.
spreading
Yeah.
out, isn't it? As well, it is spreading out into the area between Liverpool and Manchester and to the south. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
kind
good.
of
I suppose
influencing
that's
those
inevitable to a
accents.
certain extent. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I also think there's a tiny bit of Brummie in it. I do feel like there's a kind of
Yes.
that minor rising tone.
Yeah. They're the
The
similar.
only place
Yeah. The
you'll hear
similar.
that
That's.
is
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah. That's very
Brummie, isn't
similar.
it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. There is a bit of Brummie in it.
Great. Okay. And so tips, if you're trying to do Scouse, you're showing someone, how to do a Scouse accent.
Mm.
What are we going to tell them to do? Like in terms of just keep in your mind, what do you have to think of when you're doing this accent to try and stay on it? What would you say,
I
David?
think a smile.
Smile,
kind of
right.
keep that sort of muscularity there. Like that. I think
Keep
that'll
right,
actually
yeah.
help. I think this certainly the rising inflection at the
The
end
rising
is very
tone, yeah.
important. The rising tone at
Keep
the
your
end is
mind on
very
that, yeah.
important. Yeah, yeah.
It's
Keep
interesting what you say about
tuning.
smiling there, because I mean,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
two things that's interesting about that. Firstly, that's pretty good for your mental health, isn't it?
Yeah,
Smiling.
is, yeah.
So, go around talking in Scouse. But also, if you're trying to teach somebody to put the tongue to the front of their mouth,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
get them to
it's a
spread
good
their
way of
lips.
doing it. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that shows you
Yeah,
how much is at
yeah,
the front, doesn't
yeah,
it? Smile
yeah.
and your tongue's going to go
Yeah.
forwards,
That's right.
which is a good thing. Yeah, great. Okay, good. So only remains then, David, for the most important part of the show.
Which
What
sound?
sound are you putting in my
Let me just get it up on my
cauldron?
screen. Hang on a second. Sorry,
Because we've had about 12 or so sounds, I think, this episode. So which one are you going to put in me cauldron, David?
Right. What are we going to have? What about 6? Choose a suit.
You're gonna put chew. You're gonna make my diphthong. You're gonna make my ooh into a diphthong.
Let's do that. Yeah, choose a suit. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, David.
Number 6.
Great. That's gonna sound great.
My pleasure.
I am actually gonna put the number 34, the fricative for K. I'm gonna put in there. Back.
Good. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Great. So they're going in. Let's see how that sounds in. Right.
Great.
Thanks very much. Good crack, David. Thanks very much.
Thank you.